welcome to Live with Jill and Frank. My name's Jill Petrie.
And my name is Frank. Sorry, I'm laughing a little bit. I was playing with my keyboard along with the music, and I was afraid it was going to sound into the show.
Sound off. So, how you doing tonight, Frank?
Amazing, actually.
That's great.
I don't know. A lot has been happening, and a
Must be
lot
in the
is.
air.
Well, you know what? You get good days, you get bad days, and I was having some bad days lately. So, I mean, there was bound to be some good days. That's
Did you
just the
make
way.
Did you make any full moon affirmations or anything like that?
You know what? No, I never do. I always miss that opportunity.
Do
I
you
never
notice
actually.
that you just automatically maybe feel better when the moon's full?
Uh,
Like, do you notice a change in the energy at all?
oh, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, I was more in touch with the moon when I was on the streets. That's something really weird that happened over my life, and it's weird because it ties with the Kabbalah. I'm not going to get into that part, but someday we'll get into it, and you'll kind of be like, "Oh yeah, wait a minute." But um, when I was on the streets, I had a relationship with the moon because I was always under the moon, right? I
Hmm.
was on the streets, and I lived mostly at night and whatever. And so I kind of talked to the moon, and it was my guide, and it was sort of the thing that kept me going a little bit. And then in the last couple of years, it's become different. I have much more of a relationship with the sun, and I go out and I see the sun, um, and it's funny because it sort of also goes with the two types of lives I was living at the same time. And so I think in some way there's some significance in that for my life. You know what I mean? Like everybody finds their own significance in their life, but for me, uh, it has a significance. The fact that I went from having that relationship with the moon to having the relationship with the sun.
Hmm.
Um,
So, do you like do any rituals with the moon or the sun
um,
in like your practices?
well, in some respect, I do all rituals with the sun and the moon. Okay, now I guess we're getting into the Kabbalah because
Hmm.
the moon would be the etheric. The moon is the representation we have of the etheric, and I work with the etheric because I work with visualizations.
Hmm.
Um, in essence, I create worlds, and then see, in some way, until you get into trying to affect change into the world, which is actual magic in a sense, everything else what you're doing is creating worlds and creating symbols and creating characters and creating all like a whole framework for all your inner parts to inhabit. So what you end up seeing seems like it's like it's its own person, it's its own entity, and in some right it is, but also it's a part of you.
Hmm.
And so that relationship that sort of happens now, that happens at the etheric, and that visualization, that energy that has form but doesn't, um that's the moon. Now the
Okay.
sun is the energy behind that, which is well expressed by the two actual things because the moon reflects the light of the sun, right? And
What
so
about
the
like what we were talking about earlier today on existing in different places at the same time?
oh, the concept that I have about like multiple universes, well, because to me, basically any oh wow, you're taking us back, is because I
Woo!
have to mention the whole concept of source and energy and so on and so forth, right? um okay, you're catapulting me into that one. That's um Okay, well, here's the deal. Like, here's my one of the working definitions I have for source, God, whatever, the universe. For me, what it is the ultimate potential energy. Like anybody that understands physics, I always use the same example. You have, let's say, I have this little cap here. If I can get to my camera, I have this little cap. Now, notwithstanding that there's a middle million other things, the fact that I'm touching it, the fact that like there's going to be air friction, but from the point of not moving and just saying that this cap has the potential to fall and hit my microphone. Um, what I have at the beginning when it's not moving is this is full of potential energy. So it has the potential of falling. When it starts falling, it becomes kinetic energy. It becomes energy of movement. Now, it's also friction energy. There's air, there's like all kinds of stuff that's happening. But to simplify, we have kinetic energy.
Hmm.
Hits the ground, again, it changes into other kinds of energy. It becomes heat because it had friction, like it had contact. Some of the energy transfers to the surface that it got in contact with. But the important part here is that initial potential energy and then the kinetic energy. Source would be the all the potential for everything to exist. Everything and anything, like all things. And then existence happens because that potential energy becomes kinetic energy. But here's the trick that applies in science, and I believe applies here too. As everything transforms, eventually it goes back into a place of rest. And once again, it becomes potential energy. And so it's a constant flux that happens, but it happens in a way that we try to define in a way with time because we use time. We're humans. But it doesn't have a time. Time happens, it all happens at once. And so it's like this insane expansion and insane contraction that's happening at the same time. Eh, It's like an overflux of energy that's constantly happening. This is my definition of it, anyways. This is one of the definitions I have of it. Um, and so, yeah. So where were we going with that? Did you want to bring us
I
again?
just I just find this like one of my most interesting subjects lately is just the idea that we exist in multiple places at the same time. It just blows my mind.
So how does that take shape? I'm curious because I know how it takes shape in my mind, but I'm curious to see how do you. So how do you?
Well, what I want to know is when I'm gonna have the memory in the other dimension,
Mhm.
so I can like see if I like that one better, and why I'm always only waking up in this one.
Okay, what if I said that because you're human, that is constantly something you do. You create where you're going to go next. You have that ability, and that's a gift that humans have, and we're so unaware of it. It's not even funny. And I think even as a group mind, even we have an impact on what we create. If you notice everything that's going on in the world right now, it was all created in our imagination first.
I mean, I can kind of see how this works out when I think about it as far as like mediumship goes. When I think about like okay, so you have people that you do good with and you get along good with, but then those people like you stop hanging out with those people as much. Like even though you were really close with them, you kind of got further apart from them and you don't see them like you used to. That's because something in your life, their life, or both lives changed and took you kind of in a different path in a different direction. So just like you coexist in different paths, in the energy world, which I mean, this is energy, but we do have energy, but what I mean, like where it's only energy, it exists as, like here, just on a different level, but in the same spot. It's just weird. It starts blowing my mind when I start thinking about it.
I know exactly where you're at. It's because you're starting to experience the concept a little bit, and
It blows my mind when I
you
sit
have
down
no
and think
words.
about this. My mind like is blown.
It's because your mind is going to it, but your words are not able to follow
Right,
because you don't have the words for the experience yet. You're going like,
right.
what the fuck is that? This is not it. Like what's going on inside of me? It's a cool experience, actually. It's a very cool experience because it that's the whole thing, right? Is there's a moment where we understand, we go, oh yeah, okay, everybody says it kind of makes sense, we're all energy, whatever. But then at some point there's a moment where if you work with it, if you the more you inhabit that idea, the more you follow it, the more you kind of look at things and go like, oh my god, yeah, okay, this when you start seeing, this was one of the topics I had maybe for tonight, was the oneness. Once you start being aware that because of that energy we're all one, and that oneness is not just conceptual anymore, it becomes practical, because now you know that your energy, I'm energy, everything is energy. Therefore, well, what if I wanted to manipulate that energy? It's part of me, isn't it? So how far do I, beyond my physical, how far do I extend? How far is my reach? Do I have a better reach when I'm, outside of this physical? I mean, people say they astral travel to other cities, right? Like in terms of practical. I astral travel to, well, really to the center of my universe. But but and that's the thing, people don't realize that, right? They go, I want to astral travel, and then they go and do visualizations. They do like a 20-minute visualizing exercise, and then they come back from it and they go, oh my god, I spoke to my spirit guide and blah blah blah. And you're like, bruh, like, you still think you need to astral travel? Are you kidding me? Did you not realize what you just did, right? And this is what, practicing with visualization and with all that stuff, because that's what you're doing. You're creating, because we're humans, we can create. You're creating something in the etheric, because it's much easier to create something in the etheric than it is to make something appear physically. Because physically, yeah, that you need a lot for that to happen. And so, but astrally, you don't. Now here's a thing I've toyed with at some point in my head. What if I said, um, every day for 1 hour, I go and I create this super, very detailed experience in my head, like visualizing and whatever, where, I don't know, I'm president of the United States or something. And I do it every day for a year. Would that not completely change who I am?
Definitely.
Would I not feel like I've experienced being president for in some way?
That's how you actually become, is to feel like you already are.
Well,
And
that's
like
it.
if you don't feel like you can accomplish something, you're not going to accomplish it.
But it's weird how that transition comes sometimes, right? Because you can try consciously to go like, I want to feel that way, and you're still not gelling with it. But then you start taking, okay, because here's the deal: what people don't understand, it's like they go, it's the law of attraction, you have to believe that you're rich and then you'll be rich. Cool. So you sit on your couch and you believe that you're going to be rich. No, you don't sit on your couch and believe you're going to be rich. You believe you're going to be rich, and then you start taking action to become rich, because it still requires your action. But your mindset and your vision and your emotions, and if you put all of it into this one Vision you have, well, because you're human, there's good odds you'll get there. You know what I mean? Now, that being said, like as a coach, when you start any project, you first start by going, is it something that's even feasible? Right? Like if I say next weekend I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. Well, I mean, anybody in their right mind will go, Frank, don't go die, please. And they'll be right. I need to train. I need to learn how one climbs. I need to. So, but at the same time, if I give it the right amount of time, if I give it the right amount of training, if I give it the right amount, yeah, sure, it can be done. Right? Like it's important to know what powers we have as humans. But I don't think those are even the powers that matter at this point. Like I think most people these days, the power they need to know they have is like the power to say no, the power to feel good about who they are, right? It's like that right was taken away from us as a whole, like as a whole bunch of people, like as humanity. It's like everybody went, nah, you shouldn't be happy with yourself. Like somehow we got this virus that went like, I'm not happy, you shouldn't be either. And it just kind of caught on. Everybody went like, yeah, yeah, yeah. There was an experiment, and that was insane. I can't quote who it was, where it was. I read that years ago somewhere. But they took $200 and they went to two people and they would say, okay, we take the $200. Person one gets to decide how we split the $200. Person two gets to either accept the split or refuse it and nobody gets money. And most of the time, when they got to around the 60-40 split, the person getting 40, like if it was number two getting 40, like if the number one said, I'm keeping 60, um, like almost always people would go, no, nobody gets money. Now, that's a person refusing to get, okay, let me test my math here. We're talking about 60% of 200. So 120. So they would have gotten $83. But
But because they didn't, right.
because the
They
other guy was
rather
going to
not
get
have
120.
nothing at all.
Yeah, they'd rather not have anything because they don't want to see the other person have anything. But then they thought, okay, we're in America, it's $200. I mean, how telling is that? So they went to Africa and they went to a country where, you could live like a month for $200, right? Even more. And they started doing the same thing. Well, they ended up with the exact same ratio. And so, something in humans makes it that we react that way. We've trained ourselves to be excessively protective, excessively we still live in a scarcity mentality. We still live as if a saber-toothed tiger is going to come out of nowhere and attack us. And it's a problem because back when that was what we needed, we decided to give our ego this automatic process and say, okay, you defend us because you're good at that. And then the ego said, right on, I'm going to run with this. And it did. And then it took over. And then now that we're in a situation where it doesn't need to be, the leading factor inside us, well, we don't know anything else because we set it on automatic for millions of years. So we're going like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what, but it's making us sick right now. It's making us hurt. Uh, well, it is and it isn't. I mean, what's happening is beautiful. All of our deepest, nastiest parts are coming out right now. And that is making us, yeah, it makes everybody uneasy, but it's cool. We'll get through it and then we'll be better.
Did you say that you was did we decide that we were gonna start a meditation every week. Did you?
Did you want to?
Yeah, I thought we had decided that, but I didn't know if you it was too last minute if you had anything ready or what the deal was.
I could improvise one. I'm sure. I think.
All right.
Give me a couple of seconds though. Maybe. Well, what would you like the meditation to be about? What would you like it to be?
Finding your
You know
higher
what?
self or
Here's
listening
what.
to your higher self.
Here's what. I'm gonna. Um, if you want, I could actually give people the middle pillar exercise.
Let's do it.
That's one kick-ass exercise. All right, people. So, all right, yeah. How am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna have to describe it, and you're gonna have to kind of follow people because
Is this a meditation type exercise?
it's a visualization and it's a
Okay.
balancing of energy, and it's excessively.
Is there specific breath work?
There's all kinds of specific stuff. There's specific visualizations. There's vibration of words. There's in Hebrew, no less. There's other variations in other languages. I don't know them, but there's a book I can. If you can talk for 33 seconds later, I'll go get it in my bedroom.
Okay.
But
I can maybe come up with something.
actually, oh no, that's not it. That's actually your book that I was looking for earlier.
Which one?
Sacred Experiments. Everybody, if you want a good book, this is a great book that Jill wrote last year about awakenings. Um, so anyhow, where was I going with this? The middle pillar. So,
Middle pillar.
all right. Well, the first part of the exercise is actually the Kabbalistic cross. Yeah, this is going to be too much. Let's just do a basic meditation. I think
Okay.
I'm too.
Or we can wait till next week when we plan it out, since we just decided.
Yeah, you're smart that way sometimes. I think
I'm the
that'll be
one that
fair.
rushes into things.
But we will do even the middle pillar. I want to do with people. I would like to prepare it.
We should actually film a video for we talked about maybe doing something with um like if we have subscribers later or whatever. Those are some of the type of things that we could do is like maybe do specific videos, or maybe we could have like a monthly meditation or something like that for subscribers. That would be cool.
Well, let us know, you guys. If anybody that's here, please comment. Let us know if there's anything that you guys would think. Like, yeah, that would be the best way. Whatever. Like, let us know. We're very interested in getting feedback on the whole show.
And next week we are going to have a special guest towards the second half of our show, and it is going to be Miss Pamela Jones. She's going to be talking about grief and how she healed her grief, and now she's actually certified to help with grief in I think that's like three different areas. We can have a low. She'll talk about it next week. So don't miss out on that Tuesday on the 14th.
That
In the
sounds fun.
second half of our show. So probably around like 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern.
Yeah. Well, watch the whole show, anyways, guys. Don't show up just for the guests.
Yeah.
The show's at 8. That hasn't changed. I don't know.
Eastern.
Jill may not want to watch us, but you guys can.
No, I can't watch it. I can't go back and watch it. It freaks
Mm.
me out. If I went,
Really?
I never
What?
watched not one show. If I went back and watched the show, we would not be on the air anymore.
Yeah, but I keep on telling you, like, you need to go and
I know. I
grab
think that's
pieces
why
of
I'm
the
kind
show
of
to
making
show.
excuses. I'm making excuses not to do those shorts because I don't want to go back and see myself.
Ah, come on. It's not that bad. It's bad at first, and then you get over it. Um,
I mean, to be to be fair, the one that was really bad, we deleted.
I know, and I kind of regret it somehow.
I know. We should have kept it. It would
We
have made a great like 5-year anniversary bloopers.
I know. Eh? We panicked. We panicked. We just went. This should never see the day,
Hey, you
and
know
we just
what?
kind of.
It might be recorded somewhere if we did it on Zoom at that time, because that was in the very beginning.
Yeah, we didn't do it on Zoom. We did directly on Facebook. I think at the time
Okay.
we were streaming straight on Facebook. It was there for a short bit. It could be found in history. I'm sure it's Facebook. I mean, let's
Yeah.
face it. It can be
Any
found in
of
some
you,
government computer
yeah,
somewhere.
it might be floating somewhere in a Chinese balloon.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, um, how about the role of prayer? I thought that one would interest you as a topic.
Of prayer.
Yeah. Like, what would it says discuss the place of prayer in different spiritual traditions and how it can be used to cultivate a deeper connection with the divine. Is that what would you think of prayer? I have an
So I've
opinion, of
changed
course,
my
but
opinion over this over the years. At first, I I mean, I was raised Catholic, so it was kind of like recited prayers, but I never believed in the Catholic religion, even if when I went there. So as the years went on, I started to see prayer that was like repeated, like let's say Hail Mary, Glory be Our Father. Those types of prayers I didn't feel were genuine because I don't feel like they're the person's own words, if that makes sense. Like I think when you pray to whoever you're praying to, whether it be the universe, God, higher power, yourself, whatever you pray into or for, I think it should be your own genuine words. It shouldn't be something you memorized.
I agree. I agree.
So now as the years have gone on, and like I said, I changed my mind here and there over how I feel about prayer. I still don't believe in doing that, and I don't ever do that. I don't believe that someone who does that is wrong. I believe that if that's the way they feel they want to pray and they connect, that's fine. So I don't
Actually,
look at it wrong on either way. Um, Now as far as rituals like repeating prayers and stuff, like when you repeat things as far as affirmations and stuff like that, now I can kind of see how yeah, that helps. But I like to make my own affirmations either way. I don't want to have to repeat something somebody else wrote. Now, that's not to say that I might come across some quote somewhere that I really, really like and connect with, and then I start repeating it, and but for the most part, I prefer to just feel it out. I don't feel like there's a wrong way or a right way.
I agree. I totally agree with the. I think there's both, really. I have both. Here's an example. Having been in recovery, one of the prayers I learned was the serenity prayer. Right, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I
Hmm.
cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now that is simply good practical advice, as far as I'm concerned. So learning that prayer and saying that prayer is kind of reprogramming. It's like a mantra.
Yeah.
You can use that prayer as a mantra. You say it enough and you start trying to make the difference between the things you can change and the things you can't, and where you should put your energy and whatever. And it becomes it's a trick of the mind, right? So in that respect, those prayers can be good because they're task oriented and they're already written and you can just grab them. But at the same time, prayer is there to cultivate your relationship with source, with whatever it is that you
Hmm.
believe in or that you have a connection with. And in that respect, then I refer back to Jesus because he gave us a good, again, good practical advice on how to pray. He said, go in the woods and go alone and go talk to your God. And, I personally take it as very practical advice and I do it. I go in the
Hmm.
woods and I talk to my God. And guess what? He responds. Um, Not, I mean, yeah, obviously I don't hear some thundering voice going like, Frank, you're doing good. That's not how it works. Um, but
You
I've built
might sometime though. You never know.
you
This
never
could
know.
happen.
If it happened, I'll let you know though. I'll let everybody know. No, actually I'll probably keep it hidden. I'll be like, they're gonna think I'm crazy. No, but the way it happens though, and even then, like the way it happens is crazy enough as it by itself. Like I don't care how crazy it makes it sound, but it actually works. Is I listen to the forest. I listen to the vibe of the forest. I listen to the sun. I listen to the birds. I listen to the animals. I listen to the universe is constantly trying to tell you things. Now, the forest is very efficient in telling you those things for some reason because it seems connected to whatever you're going through somehow. I don't know. Like, if I believe this, if you listen for signs, don't forget the universe is a mirror. So, whatever's out there is a mirror of what's going on inside you. So, and it's not because, okay, every because I know some people will jump in and go, well, no, science obviously says there's an objective reality, and that's that, right? Now that objective reality exists, but we perceive 8 billion different versions of it. And so the fact that the objective reality exists doesn't matter because all 8 billion of us are nowhere near it. We all have our own perception of that reality, and we mirror what we're going through inside on that. Think of the reality as, like, when you watch, when they make movies, they have like all these foam blocks that are all green, and it's all like a big green screen and whatever, and then through the magic of movies it becomes something. Like, it's kind of like that in a way. Yeah, that was a crappy example.
It worked for me.
But I don't know if that made any sense at all, but
Okay. So, man, I missed the wheel, but we don't have it loaded.
like, here's the deal. When you pray, think of it as if you prayed to yourself. Just for a little bit. Give it a try for size, right? Like, and I'm not talking about you, or
And
I
think
mean
about
people in
this.
general, like you people.
People pray because they're asking for things. They want um can you help me to get through this? Can you help me not to be sick? Can you help me
Yeah,
not to
no,
hurt?
that's
That's the problem with praying. We
yep.
came here with a plan to experience pain, suffering, all these, negative things. So when you pray, you should be asking for strength to get through it, not for it to get better or to get taken away from you or a miracle to be performed. That's where people make their mistakes and they don't understand. Everybody wants a miracle, and it's not about that. You didn't come here to be miraculously. This is going to come out the wrong way, and I'm probably going to get a lot of
No,
backlash
it's
for this.
not. Probably not.
You did not come here to be miraculously saved. You came here to endure a bunch of shit, and your job is just to get through it. Why would God save you when you made the plan to come here and do it? Like, you made this
It's
plan,
true.
and now you want out? Dude, am I making sense?
I'm totally with you. I don't come in at the same angle, but I'm with you. Like,
I
it's
mean, that was kind of a. I did kind of take it down a little bit rough on that one, but
no, that's okay.
it kind of gets old after a while when people think that, why this happened to me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Like, because you said you wanted it to happen. I mean, why else?
it's it's so fluid. That's the problem. The problem is that people are not willing to accept how fluid the answer is, because it takes away our footing. It makes us go like, oh my god, well, there's no stability in this. Like, it couldn't be that it's ever changing, and it's ever. Yeah, it is. That's the thing. There's
Mm,
no stability in it. Life is suffering. Life is going to throw rocks at you as hard as it can and as many as it can. And you're going to have to duck. You're going to have to jump. You're going to have to get hit with rocks and go, what the hell's going on? And guess what, man? Like, you can do it crying about it the whole way, or you can do it with a smile. But either
And
way,
you
you're going to get hit with
ask
rocks.
for it. You ask for it. And you know, it things are what are wavy because you're gonna always have a up after you have a down. That's the thing that I like to try to get across with. I don't even know what words I can use.
A cycle.
Um, I
It's a
want to
cycle.
use the S word, but I don't. Now they always want to say different things, and I call it one thing. You know what word I'm talking about? Can I use that word?
I'm not even sure.
The S word,
What's the S
the
word?
unalive word.
I don't know. Well, don't use it if you're not sure.
The people always talk about prevention for unaliving or whatever you want to call it. Um,
Unaliving.
unaliving yourself.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
see.
The thing is that as low as it gets, it's always gonna come back up. It's gonna go up and down.
Well, yeah. The when it
It that's just the life cycle. That's what it does. Up
okay,
and down, up and down.
here's what life will do to you. It will send you a message. And the first time it sends it, it's going to send it in a semi-polite way, right? So it's going to send somebody something in your way and it's going to go, "Hey, here's what you need to look at." And then you can choose to ignore it, or you can choose to look at it. You can choose to learn, you can choose to ignore. You can choose to, if there's emotions involved, you can choose to ignore them, you can choose to
And if
shove
you
them somewhere.
ignore, there it's gonna come back with a stronger
Oh, there's a
sign.
cost. There's always a cost. Um, but life will send it to you one way this way. And then if you don't get the lesson, because that's the next lesson you need to get, life is going to send you something a little bit worse in order for you to get it. And when you end up in those depths where it's like, insane, that's life going, dude, you really need to get this. Like it's sending you a million messages. It's like puzzles in a way. It's like it's giving you there's always okay, life will never give you a problem and not give you the solution.
You just
It's
have to
like a
find the
video game.
solution.
It's ridiculous, but it's like a video game. It will always give you the solution. You can always find it. We have that ability. We're strong humans. We're excessively strong. We get out of stuff. We're incredible. Now the problem is that for some time now, we've been teaching each other that we're not. We've been teaching each other that we're dumb, that we're useless. I mean, we needed machines. And so we started raising machines. Now we've become machines, but we know we're more. And so we have to kind of get back to it. But it was our evolution. It was meant to be. It was always supposed to be this way though. Because we had to get through that to get where we are. Like where we are is actually not a bad time. Where we are is a fantastic time. It's a time of transition, and I think it's happened before many times. Like you were talking about cycles, and I believe deeply in cycles, and I believe
Hmm.
cycles are the essence of our life. Everything happens in a cycle.
Yeah.
Your breathing is in a cycle. The seasons are in a cycle. You sleep in
And
a
it's
cycle.
been
The
proven too
moon, the
because you can
sun.
go back and check like into astrology and numerology and all these things.
Yeah, everything goes around everything. Everything is cyclic. Everything is a and so because of that, you can actually like you can cash in on that. And I think that right now what's happening is it's something that is a cycle and that we've had previously, and I believe that we failed at it quite a few times. I believe we kind of destroyed everything and went on. But I think right now I don't know why I say these things. Like seriously, I get those like whatever. But I think this time the difference about it is that we have the internet. We never had numbers. We never had the 8 billion people. And the speed at which we can communicate, that's never happened. And now we're reaching that part of the cycle where, because we've been building to this egocentric sort of like apex where we're at right now for a while, and now we're reaching that apex, but we're also reaching a point where we're becoming more and more aware of ourselves, and we communicate with each other, and we're going like, hey man, this is a problem we have, hey, this is a problem we have, hey, this is. And now all of our problems are coming to light, and we're facing ourselves. We're
Mhm.
facing humanity right now. We're having to say, guess what, there's pedophiles, they're here to stay, they're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm taking the worst one here because, like, that's important to know. Like, mass murderers, they're probably not going away. Not until we face that this is the reality of who we are as humans, and then we start going, okay, how do we deal with it in a way that does not punish the crime with the same crime? Like, that's the old rules. Those are old biblical, you know what I mean? Like ancient rules. That's not how it works anymore. But we have the ability. The problem is we have the ability to curb all of our weirdest parts, not by rejecting them, by accepting them. That's how it works on a personal level. That's how it works in any. And so the same dynamic applies to humanity. We have to deal with our crap. We have to look at each other in the eyes and say, holy crap, man, you're screwed up and so am I. What do we do about it? Like, we can't go on this way. We can't keep on hiding it to each other and then freak out because we're not owning ourselves. Because that's what's happening. You know what I mean? If let's assume for a second, and here I'm gonna go on a super crazy tangent, but let's assume for a minute that you take a serial killer, but from birth, you allow him to express what's going on inside of him. Now, I'm not saying I suck. Like, psychology is not my field, and so I may be completely wrong here, and I stand to be corrected. I completely agree to this. But let's imagine for a second that you were able to have a nurturing environment for that kid now, because in some way we're growing as a society, as a. It's already happening, right? Like, you see kids where, I mean, we have split families, right? And you see different family dynamics, and some that are toxic and some that are not. And so you see kids that go half the time in a toxic environment and half the time in a non-toxic environment. And so they're learning to differentiate. And as generations grow, now they're going like, well, no, I'm going to make the choice of this type of life. I'm going to take the choice of living healthy and of living, in a way that does not abuse others and doesn't. And we're not seeing it, it seems right now. People are blind to the progress we make sometimes, but we're actually making a lot of progress this way. We're waking up, we're going like, oh my God, yeah, this is, let's, we're exchanging so much healing information right now, like all of us on the internet, like humanity as a whole. We are coming out with so much and being able to look at, even from country to country, we're able to go, how do you guys live, right? Like, what do you guys see? How do you guys. And now we're, for the most part, because we're so egocentric, we're learning, and most of us are ignoring or attempting to assimilate, or like, we're all awkward about it. But our awkwardness does not mean that we're not actually coming to something incredible, right? The globalists can't be completely 100% wrong about everything. Their methods might be weird, but let's face it, we are at a point where we have forced on ourselves, with the internet, with this type of connection, a need for a globalization. We've come to a place where it's like the next thing to happen. Uh, be it good, be it not good, that's not the question. The question is, where else would we go? How do we split every. And I mean, a globalization does not mean that you cannot have also small communities that govern themselves under. But I mean, the ways that are being proposed right now are absolutely insane and make no sense. But I believe at some point, the younger generation may come up with ways that are way smarter, uh, because they have a desire for a very different world than we have, and I think they can accomplish it. I think they have the means. I think they're going to have potentially AI helping them, and it's gonna do a lot. Now, you guys, it may seem like I'm going on and I'm not leaving any room for Jill there, but we've actually lost her.
No,
So
I'm here.
oh, you came back. There you go.
Sorry.
What happened?
I had a little mini emergency. I had to run off.
Okay.
I'm back.
I was like, okay,
We all
I don't
good.
know what to say no more.
Okay, sorry.
Believe it or not,
Isn't
people,
that
even I run
strange?
out of stuff to say.
Isn't that strange how sometimes like I'll like freak out when you run off. Not that you run off,
I
but
never do.
in general, or you'll freak out when I run off. Like, but yet we know what to say. I think we just get. I think it's just the shock of the change in the energy. Because I try
I
to
don't know.
quietly like run off and turn my camera off, but
Well, no, it's just you were gone for a while. I didn't know. I was like, shit, crap. Is she coming back?
that was
Is
2
what's going
minutes.
on?
I
Like,
almost told Carly to take a seat and make sure Frank knew I had to step away.
it's okay.
But then I was like,
It's
no,
no
she's
biggie.
probably gonna freak out.
It's no biggie. How about the meaning of surrender?
Oh, that's a good choice.
There you go. All right. Now you lead us into that
Because
one.
that's very important because that and a lot of people think that they know what surrender is, but you don't actually know what it is until you actually have surrendered because that'll help you to get rid of a lot of problems if you can surrender.
How would one do that? Like, how does that look for you? Like, let's
You have to
say,
actually I think it's kind of similar to how people say and I don't want to say religion again. My God, why every time I talk
why
religion
not?
comes up? So,
Okay.
you know how people say they found the Lord? Like, well, I think it would be probably similar to that. Like you just open up to whatever it is. I think I think when people get I think I think a lot. I think
I think a lot.
I think I can. I believe when people get older in age, they get towards the end of their life and things start to slow down. It's not as fast as it was when you were a teenager or in your 20s or whatever, you know.
I would agree.
Um so it starts to make you think more and then you start to ask those questions, but how did I get here for real? Like how did I actually get here? What am I doing here? What is this what's the purpose of my life? Why am I did I go through these challenges? Why did I go through
It's
these
called the midlife
triumphs?
crisis.
Yeah. And so, well, it could be because in a midlife crisis, some well,
People look for meaning in their life. They go, okay, wait
yeah,
a minute, this can't be
and
it.
change their life drastically.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I did now that I look at it, and I never actually thought about it that way. That
It took me until I had it named. I didn't know that's where
yeah,
I
I
was
think
going to,
that's
but
what happened when I had my awakening. I had a midlife crisis. I woke up one day and I was like, I'm not living like this. Like
yeah,
there's
you
got to be a better way.
you start craving meaning. You start wanting to
Hmm.
contribute more, right? Like that's a big that was for me. That was a big part, was learning to. And I think it's weird because people don't realize that, but that is one big part of the recipe to success, is wanting to contribute.
Hmm.
People that are successful, typically, if you look when they started, like, it wasn't, I want to be rich. It was, I want to do something for somebody. You know what I mean? I want to create a chair that will help people with no legs. I want to, and people they want to help. They want to somehow contribute to their society. And
Mhm.
when they do that for some weird reason, it's a different energy, and now it's accepted, and it rolls. Where they're just going at it for just money and what it can work for some people, um, because some of it can be. Anyways, I'm not going to get into the why, but it's not as durable. It's not the same. But people who have put meaning in what they were doing, yeah, they get successful because it just one, it allows you to take the beatings that you're going to have to take. I mean, anybody that wants to start anything worthwhile, if you're not expecting to take a beating in the process, guess what? You're not taking something worthwhile
True.
because that's just what's going to happen. You're going
And
to go, you're going to
anything
swim, you're
worth
going to.
having is, how do we say, worth suff- suffering for? Well, let me say, give you a term that I used to hear, like in beauty school. Beauty takes pain.
Well, that's it.
You know,
Yeah.
like when they rolling your hair and they pulling your hair, or they like plucking
Yep.
your eyebrows or waxing or whatever. Beauty takes pain.
Absolutely. Maybe that's what we're missing these days is that people don't apply that. Like people are getting. I saw this one person who like they were getting. I think in total it was 27 implants or some ridiculous number in that amount. And it was giving them legs that looked like they had gone to the gym for, you know what I mean? Except it just wasn't muscle. It
Hmm.
was implants over top of their muscle. And I was like, holy moly, like really? Like that's how far that's where we're at. That's
Yeah,
like that's something.
it's sad to say, but that is where we at.
It puzzled me. It's okay. The desire we have to it's like there's a huge cry going out, and people have a desire to not be who they are. Because right now, like I said, we're all everything's coming to light, and instead of accepting each other, we're shaming each other. And right
Right.
now, all 8 billions of us have reasons to be shamed by others. And so we're all just waiting patiently for the time that cancel culture or something attacks us. And we're like, okay, well, I'm just
Cancel
sitting duck.
culture. What's cancel culture?
Chill. Do you live under the ocean?
I don't. I might. I mean, I'm at the end of the world.
It's the fact that
Seriously,
these days,
what is
no, but
cancel culture?
well, okay, without going into too much detail, these days, like that's what happens on the internet when people jump on
I
somebody, like
mean,
on
it
a
sounds
celebrity, whatever
serious,
they
but
did.
I never heard of it before.
Well, these days, when people disagree with somebody on the internet, they get them completely destroyed. That's what people do. It's called cancel culture. That's what people do.
I've never heard of that. That kind of reminds me, like
Try
on my
go around
honeymoon
mispronounce
when
go around and mispronoun enough people, and you'll know what cancel culture is. You will not exist anymore on the internet or in life. People will
I
jump
might
on your
live
face,
under a
and
rock for real because
sometimes.
did I tell you the story about when I went on my honeymoon and I found out what Mary Jane was?
I prob is it a YouTube friendly story or
I guess. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a song. And some
well, it also was, but
some guy was hollering at me. He wanted to sell us some. And I told my husband, I'm like, what is Mary Jane? And my husband's like, what do you mean? What is Mary Jane? I'm like, what is it? He's like, you know what it is. I'm sure y'all all know I'm the only one that was under a rock and didn't know. But y'all know. And I was like, what? Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I was
yeah,
38 years old when I found out what it was.
yeah, I was 12. I was 12, not my best series of decision. I started smoking cigarettes, hash, and drinking beer all the same day. And I decided to like all three for years to come.
Okay.
That was not
Yeah.
good. That was not good whatsoever. But yeah, no, the first time it was funny because we were at the community center where we all hung out. I lived in a small town. And the guys that were hanging out there, like they kept on going outside and then coming back in. And so in my head, I was like, "Oh my god, I think those guys are doing drugs or something." And then at some point, the one guy sitting beside me, we started talking, whatever, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go buy some beer." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll try beer. All right, that sounds cool." Because I was trying so hard to be cool. Because it was like, okay, so here's the whole. All right, I'll go on to the whole story. I had just been rejected by a super hot girl. I was like 12ish, and she was like 16 or whatever, super hot. Like I thought she was hot for years to come. And I went and saw her, and literally, I even feel ashamed saying it, but I showed up and I went like, "Excuse me, I've always loved you from the first moment I saw you." And
Oh
her
god.
and Hall, yeah, I know, I don't know
No
anything, but I
wonder why she rejected you.
well, I'm a fucking
Stalker.
I'm Gen
Stalker.
X. I'm Gen X, bro. I didn't have parents. Like whatever. I mean I did, but they were useless. And so I didn't know better. I saw movies, right? I'm 12 years old. And so I walk up to her, I say that, and her and all her friends start laughing, of course. And then I'm like super hurt and I'm like, "Oh my god." And then I went in my brother's room because I like to go dig in there and find out what he had because he was older than me. And so I found cigarettes in there. And so I smoked my first cigarette. It was like a pretty strong brand, whatever. I'm like, and so I'm like, yeah, that'll make me cool. And then I went to the store and I decided to go buy cigarettes. And when I went, I said, I'm going to buy the brand that my aunt smokes because she's cool. So I'll be cool. And so she smoked menthols. So
My
I went,
grandma too.
so I went and bought a pack of menthols.
Salem.
Now,
Salem menthol.
I'm coming out of the corner store with my pack of menthols, all proud, like, yay, I got cigarettes now. I'm cool. That, the older kids will think I'm cool now. And so as I'm coming out, they're passing by a few of them. So I'm like, oh, right on. And then one of the girls sees me with that I have a pack of cigarettes, and she comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, can I spare a cigarette?" And I'm like, I'm so proud, right? I'm all like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get to give her a cigarette. Like I'm a cool guy now." And so I hand her a cigarette, and she goes, "Oh, they're menthol. No, never mind." And she walks away. And so here I am, murdered once again the same day. I'm just like, "Oh my god, I'll never be cool. What am I doing in life?" Right? And so I go buy the different type of cigarettes that I had found in my brother's room. And so I buy those. I go to the community center, and that's when I met those guys. And now that guy is like, "Hey, I'm going to get some beers." So I'm like, "All right, yeah, sure. I'll
Kitty
get a
kitty.
6 pack." I don't know where the hell I got all that money, but I bought a 6 pack. And I'm like, "Okay, bring me back a 6 pack." So the guy comes back, brings back a 6 pack. Of course, I had like I think one or two beers out of the whole thing because I was like completely hammered. And so I started drinking, and then they were going in and out. So at some point, they're like, "Hey, you want to come?" And I was like, "Oh crap, okay, yeah, sure, all right." And so I went, and then we smoked a hash joint or something. And then I was so messed up at that point. And I remember, it's funny for somebody with no memory, like I remember that part. At some point, some guy asked me for a cigarette, and I had one in my mouth, like one that I was smoking, right? And I pulled out my pack. I pulled out a cigarette from my pack, and I looked at the cigarette that I was smoking, and the pack, and I got completely confused. And I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do with those items. And I threw them all on the floor, and I went like, "Okay, which one do you need?" And the guy just started laughing. He was like, "I'll take the cigarette, and here's your pack, and you're good." He was like, "Are you okay? You're okay to go home?" And then I walked home, and my mom was up, and she was like, "Hi, Frank," and I'm like, "Hi," and I was just trying to go to bed like so fast. I don't know. She must have known, man. There's no way she didn't know. But yeah, so that was the one day that I started like practically every substance, and all with the very wrong people as well, as it turned out later on in the story. They weren't. Yeah, they were people I would later get in trouble with. But yeah, that was the beginning of the end for me. The beginning of
Beginning
the
of the end.
the beginning of the The few years I did in the underbelly of society. Um, I don't regret it though in some way. Sometimes I got to be careful. I tell those stories in front of my kids, and I shouldn't, because then they
Yeah.
think it's cool to do stuff like that. And I'm like, no, it's not. It really hurts. Like,
We don't realize till later in life when we have kids all the stupid shit that we did that we are teaching our kids. Like
uh,
I thought I was cool. Like I'm like this cool mom. Like y'all want to jump the bridge? Here we go.
uh,
Hold on. And then they got driver's licenses, and I was like, oh
oh
fuck.
no, I
What
just
did I
allowed them to
do?
do all these crazy
Yeah.
things.
Oh my god.
Yeah. At the same time, though, there's also the fact that you just can't shelter them, right? Like they're gonna find out all kinds of that stuff on their own and whatever. I mean, look, like my son is in high school now. I mean, some dude in high school says, "Hey, dude, you want to come and smoke a joint?" I'm at work. You know what I mean? Like, he's living his life. He's not like I'm not living his life. I have very little to do with his life at this point. Like, yeah, I'm his dad. I'm useful. He can ask me questions. I give him rides, whatever. But yeah, the more he grows, the more that's going to be my function, right? It's just going to be to be there to hopefully not too often have to pick up the pieces. And
Spirit.
who knows?
I think that's where I messed up a lot. I should have met you earlier so you could have helped me get through parenthood.
That's where you messed up. You should have met me earlier. Yeah, the problem is if you had met me earlier, there's not a chance that you would have wanted to learn anything about parenthood from me.
I
You would have
think
been
you
like,
have
"What
good
the hell?"
parenthood skills, though.
Yeah, except back then I didn't.
Yeah,
I
me
was a
either.
raver. I was a punk. I was yeah, no, I was all kinds of stuff you don't want parenting your children. Actually, I guess at the same time, the whole time I still would have been the same person, but in some sense. No, because it was lost. I had way too many shadows. I had way too many. I was angry. I wasn't the same person in a large way. I should ask one of my exes. We still talk.
Do they
She'll
all
know.
live in Texas?
Who does?
Oh, your exes.
My exes? No, none of them do. No, they all live like, within driving distance. I guess. Well, actually, no. I don't know. Some from the past might live God knows where. I don't know. I don't know all of them. I know the
Oh,
two that occupied 20 years of my life. You know. Actually, no. There's another one I have on Facebook that was earlier. She was nice. I liked her. She
so
was a good person. She was a good friend too.
all right. Well, folks,
We're just
we
chatting
gonna
now, aren't we?
we are going to let you know about next week real quick. Let me just make another little quick announcement. We're gonna start doing meditations next week. So plan to be in a. Sorry, I can't even go.
So I guess plan to come by naked and with your feet in
No.
the sand. Oh, okay. I had that wrong, didn't I?
Plan to be in like a comfortable position to get the best um out of it, and we're gonna start doing this every week. A little short meditation. Some might be 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. We're gonna start off small, just to help you. For those of you who are just getting into your spirituality, help you to go on your journey.
And if you think 5 minutes is too long, let us know. We'll make it 10.
We will not.
Well,
And
yes.
if there's any specific meditations you want us to do, let us know so we can plan in advance.
It's actually a Buddhist saying, though. Meditate 30 minutes a day. And if you don't have time, meditate an hour.
I've always told my students to meditate for start off like 3 minutes and then move up to five, and then you can add a minute every week or whatever and build yourself up because it's better to meditate for 3 minutes than to not meditate at all.
Well, that's it.
That's just my opinion. And
No, that's
that's how I've
absolutely.
tried to teach my students.
Well, you can't. It's because People come in and they've read a book or something that says, oh, you need to clear your mind. And so that's what they're trying to do, right? They sit down and they go, okay, clear my mind. What am I going to do for dishes today? Oh, God, the kids, the lunch, the this, the that. No, I'm not. Okay, I can't clear my mind. What's going on? Okay, clear my mind. Clear my mind, clear my mind, clear my mind. Oh, crap, I'm not clearing my mind because I'm saying clear my mind. Oh, my God. And then they get in
Yep.
this struggle and then they
That's the
just want to
main
give up,
problem.
right?
Yep.
Now, here's a different approach. Listen to your thoughts, but let them go.
Yep.
Don't attach to
Acknowledge
them.
them.
Just
Don't
go.
try to. Well, it's not necessarily to attach, in
It's
my
it's really
opinion.
you thank
It,
them and you let them go. You just go like,
yep.
"Oh, what am I gonna do about the dishes? I'll find out later."
The more you
Okay,
try
what
to
am I?
ignore something, the more it's gonna annoy you. So just
Yes.
acknowledge it.
Well, okay. Here's something. Do not. I repeat. Do not think of a white bear. What did you do? You thought of
I
a
mean,
white
I'm
bear.
in control of my mind.
You still thought of. You still saw a white bear there. There's no way you didn't. The minute I said white bear, it popped in, and you went no
No,
because
I actually I'm sitting there looking at your eyes open wide, and I'm like, why in the fuck are you saying this, Frank? Where are we going with this? And then I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, that's what
But
he is.
most people think of a white bear because one, your subconscious doesn't even understand any negatives, and so it understands think of a white bear. But yeah, the minute you mention something, you think of it. If I don't mention a white bear, guess
And
what? Nobody thinks about one.
another thing to mention too is a lot of times when people first start to go into meditation, what they struggle with is they'll start to feel an itch, or oh, this, a little feeling here or feeling there in your body that has your mind on that feeling. Just acknowledge the feeling. I mean, if the itch bothers you that much, itch it. It's not going to stop your
You don't
meditation
even
unless
have
you
to itch
allow it
it.
to.
I'm
But I mean,
teaching my daughter
if it
that.
if it bothers you that much, itch it. You it. You don't stop your. Don't let it control your mind. You have to have control on your mind. And I'm not going to say everybody, but I'm going to say much percentage of this world you think feel like they're strong willed, like they're in control. A
Too
large
many.
portion of the world,
Too
I
many.
would say. So if you are in control, then you can control your mind in meditation.
Yeah. They
Like
think
just
they're in control, but they can't control their mind.
but you can control your mind. Anybody can control their mind, but it takes work. You can't just, it's not something you're going to just do in one day. But that doesn't mean that you give up on it. You continue to try it day by day by day, and every day you'll get a little bit better at it. Don't give up and say, "Oh, I can't meditate because my mind wanders." It's gonna wander. It
Well, no,
happens
that's the
to
whole
everybody.
point. That's the whole point. It's like saying, I can't learn hammering because the nails are not going in while you're learning. Of course, they're not going in, or else you would have already learned. Now you're learning. This is when they don't go in, or they go in crooked, or they bend, or they do all kinds of weird stuff because you're learning. Once you get good with a hammer, they don't bend, they don't go sideways, they don't do that because you're good with a hammer now. Well, it's the same thing with everything in life. And people are not willing to face that. People, when it comes to big success, that's what differentiates people that take life and make it what they need it to
Yeah.
be.
And trust me, I try to get out of things. I mean, you can ask Frank what my favorite phrase is if I
You're
want to
not
get
even
out
gonna.
of something.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna repeat it.
Because you don't want people to start saying that.
Well, because it's very
But
gendered.
I do have I have a favorite phrase, and it gets me out of a lot of shit around my house.
It
But
shouldn't. I'm gonna have to talk with your house. Gonna have a talk with your house about responsibilizing you.
but it does get me away with a lot of stuff. And when you got that mindset, like if it didn't get me away with it, then I would have to like drill my own holes in the wall and shit.
But that's okay. No,
Do
you
things
wouldn't. You
that
would
I
find
think
another
I
way.
can't do.
But here's
Right.
the deal, though.
Whatever
We
you
always
want,
tend to do
you're
that.
gonna
Wait up.
find a way.
But wait up. We always do that. We say if this condition was true or false or whatever, then it would mean that this. And that part doesn't exist, right? That part is where we can be creative. You could also say, if I didn't have anybody at my house doing it, well, then I would have professionals doing it and they would do a much better job. I don't know. That could be another, you know what I mean? Like there's a million directions that could go. But you're once again, you're creating something out of thin air. It doesn't exist. It's only your thoughts going in a certain direction. Now, that is something to be mindful about your thoughts because they have that power. And so the less you do it with them, the more you control that power. The more you control the what people call the law of attraction or whatever. Um, I guess I'll call it that for now. But so yeah. All right. Well, what do you say? It's been on 1 hour 11, 1 hour 12.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight.
I
Here's
think.
our
Oh,
little
hi, Spirit Guide.
showcase motto. Her name's
Little.
Spirit Guide.
That's our little
She's the
mascot.
cutest little kitten on the block.
She is. She is very cute. Hi, Spirit Guide. Yeah, she don't
Hi,
know.
Uncle Frank.
She don't know I'm there. I don't smell.
She's like, I just had some catnip.
She got cool eyes. I love her eyes. Oh, she's so pretty. All right,
Pretty eyes.
time for us to go on that because unless Spirit Guide is going to enlighten us, I will teach you about your
I think
role as
she would.
slaves. She will teach us how to be good slaves because she's a cat.
Good girl.
There was a meme at some point. It
Yeah.
said, I don't know if it was a meme or if I got that on a show, but it said, back in the days of the Egyptians, cats used to be treated like gods. They haven't forgotten. We have, but they haven't.
If you notice in like the old time like stonework and stuff, there's a lot with cats.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, no. Cats used to be like gods. They're the only domesticated animal that actually domesticated itself. They showed up one day and they said, "Meow, how you doing?" And we couldn't get rid of them. They were like, "Here's what, bro. Here's the deal, bro. I'm gonna be cute. I'm gonna be cuddly. You're gonna feed me, and that's that." And so we complied. Wow, that makes cats pretty powerful as far as I'm concerned.
Very much so.
Yep,
All right, well
we
guys,
are the
we're gonna
slaves.
see you back on Tuesday the 14th. Um
That's it.
we're gonna start the meditation, um weekly meditation thing. And also don't forget we're gonna have a special guest on
Yes,
Tuesday
that part's pretty cool.
and discuss some important things. So we thank you for joining us and we appreciate you along our journey,
Yeah,
Frank.
and do join us next week. Like grief is an important thing, right? Like if you can grieve in life, that's a powerful thing. If you know what's happening and whatnot, so come and check her out. I think it'll be an interesting episode. So on this, have a good week, and I
Good
hope
night.
you enjoyed the show and you got something out of it. Take
Good
care,
night,
guys.
everybody.